A tense hearing room, a pointed accusation, and an FBI director who refused to sit quietly through it. That's exactly what unfolded when Lucy McBath called Kash Patel's leadership problematic and got far more than she bargained for. What started as routine committee questioning quickly turned into one of the sharpest clashes we've seen between a lawmaker and a sitting FBI director this year. Patel didn't just push back, he came out swinging, defending his record with a level of intensity that left the room and everyone watching online taking notice. Behind the fireworks lies a much bigger fight over who controls the Bureau, why so many senior agents have been pushed out, and whether Patel's version of events actually holds up. Stick around because we're breaking down exactly what was said, what it really means, and why this exchange could matter far more than a single viral clip suggests.
In the past few months, the country has experienced a string of horrific, high-profile attacks that have been motivated by racial hatred or political ideology. A shooter attacked the CDC headquarters, firing hundreds of rounds and killing a police officer. An arsonist set fire to the Pennsylvania governor, Josh Shapiro's residence, with the governor and his family actually inside. Minnesota House Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband were assassinated earlier this year. Clark and Charlie Kirk was murdered last week. Bomb threats have been made against HBCUs and the DNC, and just the list goes on and on. I only have just a few minutes today, so I don't want to take a lot of time to go into all the countless and devastating violent crimes and incidents that have happened at our schools or on our streets and in our communities that have just been happening all year long. Mr. Patel, just yes or no, is this type of political violence ever acceptable in your eyes?
No.
I'm glad that we agree that these heinous acts designed to instill fear and division in our nation are never, ever acceptable, yet each of these incidents has recently taken place under your watch. The FBI's website states that protecting the United States from terrorist acts is the FBI's #1 priority, including from domestic terrorists. Is this still your #1 priority?
Domestic terrorism?
Preventing domestic terrorism.
Our #1 priorities are protecting the homeland and international terrorism and crushing violent crime, and domestic terrorism sort of interlays between both of those.
Okay, so well, then I'm glad that you're giving us the right answer, but unfortunately, your actions kind of tell a different story. Earlier this year, you granted the ranks of the FBI's Domestic Terrorism Operations Section.
The confrontation between FBI Director Kash Patel and Representative Lucy McBath drew attention because it went beyond a routine exchange over the FBI's performance. McBath characterized Patel's tenure as problematic, and Patel pushed back forcefully, turning the discussion toward the broader question of how the Bureau is being led.
And instead of ensuring that this section has all the resources that it needs at a time when its mission is critical, you fired its decorated veteran FBI agents who have served their country proudly under Republican and both Democratic presidents, and you scrapped the tools that they developed to fight domestic terrorism, including the National Domestic Terrorism Incident Database.
I mean, most of that is just not true. We have 1,700 current DT-managed programs. We're up 300% in the amount of cases we brought against nihilistic, violent extremists, including 764, wishing to harm our children. The FBI and the men and women are getting after that problem set more than ever because I've unleashed them to do so. And any insinuation that these tragic occurrences across the country are somehow singularly my fault or disgusting because that watershed goes down to the men and women at the FBI, and they are not responsible for it. I'm happy to work with you to get them what they need.
Gentlelady controls the time. Unanimous consent request. You'll state a request.
Thank you very much. Into the record, an article from Reuters titled FBI Scales Back Staffing, Tracking of Domestic Terrorism, Probes Sources Say. Thank you very much.
Without objection.
I appreciate that. So, Mr. Patel, and it isn't just the domestic terrorism operations section. Under your watch, agents are fully diverting their attention to these anti-immigrant and city takeover operations, leaving our children vulnerable to dangerous networks of online predators, both domestic and international. You pulled more than 120 FBI agents from their normal duties to operate sobriety checks and conduct traffic stops, exposing the FBI's fleet of unmarked cars and thereby making it harder for the FBI to combat violent criminal gangs, foreign intelligence services, and drug traffickers in the process.
That's simply not true. If we were not able to do two things at one time, how would we be
Patel, I
seizing
reclaim
record
my
amounts of
time. I reclaim my
fentanyl?
time.
23,000
Chairman, I'd like to
violent
enter
felons have been
into the
arrested.
Time belongs to the
Consent
More than
gentlelady.
twice as many as
request.
last
Belongs to
year.
the gentlelady from Georgia.
At the center of the dispute is a familiar issue in Washington. How much political pressure should an agency like the FBI withstand while carrying out its responsibilities? Supporters of Patel argue that he has been willing to challenge established practices and pursue priorities they believe have been overlooked. Critics, including lawmakers questioning his leadership, have raised concerns about independence, management decisions, and the direction of the Bureau.
Mr. Patel, in the short time I have left, your tenure as Director of FBI has been somewhat problematic. Americans are left definitely less safe under your watch. You have gutted the FBI's ability to keep safe from domestic terrorism. You have sent FBI agents to conduct traffic stops and round up hardworking immigrants who pose no danger to public safety. People even President Trump referred to as good, long-time workers. Your job is to protect and serve the American public.
Time to the
You have
gentlelady.
spent your time protecting heinous individuals and using the FBI to serve as a political circus. You at times have appeared unequipped,
Time
and
of
this
the
country
gentlelady has
deserves better, and
expired.
I yield.
Gentlelady yields
May I
back.
respond?
Sure can.
Simply put, what is it? Are we failing? If we're failing, how are we arresting 23,000 violent felons? Twice as many as this time last year. Are we failing? Because if we're failing, how are we seizing 1,500 kilograms of meth, 25% increase from last year? Are we failing? Because we captured 4 top 10 FBI most wanted from around the world in 7 months. That's more than the entirety of the last administration. Are we failing? Because we put 1,500 child predators in prison. Are we failing? Because we dismantled 300 human trafficking networks. Which is it? You don't like me, that's fine. But don't you dare disparage the men and women of the FBI that are producing record results in historic fashion to protect this country. They are kicking ass for America, and they're going to continue to do so.
And we appreciate your leadership. The gentlelady from Florida is recognized.
Congressional oversight hearings rarely stay calm when the topic is the FBI's own leadership, and the exchange between Representative Lucy McBath and Director Kash Patel was a clear example of just how personal these confrontations have become. McBath pressed Patel directly on his decision to remove career agents from the Bureau, framing his time in the role as damaging to the institution's independence and telling him plainly that his tenure had been problematic for the agency's credibility. Patel, who has spent much of this year defending his leadership against similar criticism from both chambers, pushed back forcefully, rejecting the characterization and defending the personnel changes as necessary reform rather than political retaliation. The tone of the room reflected a broader pattern that has followed Patel through hearing after hearing this fall, where Democratic lawmakers have repeatedly accused him of politicizing the Bureau, while he has just as repeatedly denied any wrongdoing and cast the criticism as an attack on his effort to modernize the agency. What makes this moment worth examining isn't simply the volume of the disagreement, but what it reveals about the deeper dispute over what the FBI is supposed to be. McBath's line of questioning echoed concerns raised earlier in the same hearing cycle by other members who pointed to a wave of firings, forced departures, and reassignments among senior agents, many of whom had prior involvement in politically sensitive investigations. Patel has consistently maintained that no one was removed because of case assignments, insisting instead that his changes were about accountability and restoring public trust. That gap between how the director explains his decisions and how his critics interpret them is really the heart of the story, and it's a gap that has only widened as more former officials have come forward, including several who are now pursuing legal action against him. From a purely analytical standpoint, the exchange is notable for how little common ground existed between the two sides even before the questioning began. McBath wasn't asking Patel to defend a single decision. She was challenging the overall direction of his leadership, which put him in a position where almost any answer would read as either an admission or a deflection. Patel's response, sharp and immediate, suggested a director who has grown accustomed to this kind of confrontation and has settled on a consistent defense, that the criticism is overblown, politically motivated, and disconnected from the operational realities of running the Bureau. Whether that defense holds up depends heavily on how the ongoing lawsuits from former agents unfold, since sworn testimony and internal records will ultimately test claims that, for now, exist mostly as competing narratives delivered under the bright lights of a committee room. It's also worth noting how this fits into the wider scrutiny Patel has faced this year. from questions about the Epstein files to his handling of high-profile investigations that have drawn national attention. Each hearing seems to add another layer to the same underlying question lawmakers keep returning to. Is the FBI being run with the independence the public expects from federal law enforcement, or has it become another arena for political loyalty tests? McBath's problematic comment wasn't an isolated jab. It was a distillation of concerns that have been building across multiple committees and multiple months, and Patel's forceful pushback reflects just how high the stakes feel to him personally, given that his job security appears tied directly to how convincingly he can rebut these accusations. Stepping back from the theatrics, my honest take is that moments like this tell us more about the erosion of trust between Congress and federal agencies than they do about any single policy dispute. Both McBath and Patel were speaking past each other as much as to each other, which is often what happens when a hearing becomes more about scoring a public moment than resolving an actual question. That said, the underlying issue McBath raised deserves to be taken seriously regardless of the delivery, because an FBI director's personnel decisions have real consequences for institutional continuity and public confidence, and Patel owes the public more than combative denials if he wants that trust rebuilt. Until the pending litigation plays out and more concrete evidence enters the record, viewers are left evaluating tone and credibility rather than settled facts, and that's an uncomfortable but honest place to leave this story for now.